made it to the American Retrocross. We're here at Glen Helen and it's on the vet track, the perfect track for vintage bikes. It's just smooth, big rollers, big hills, big berms. I really wish you were racing out there.
Yes, thank you, me too.
We're gonna get a petition started, see how many signatures we can get.
I like it.
So anyway, I'm gonna get suited up for practice. We have a riders meeting at 8:45 and then we'll get the racing started. Woohoo!
Sounds good. You're golden.
The vintage class got to be first up in practice, which I didn't hate because it's always fun to ride a freshly groomed and watered track. During the riders meeting, that guy out in front asked us to follow him around slowly for a sight lap. Apparently they had made some changes to the track which didn't make much of a difference for me because I had never been here before. But I was really glad to get these 3 or 4 practice laps in since I hadn't ridden this bike yet. There are always a few kinks to work out when you pick up a new bike, but overall it was feeling really good. I'm pretty sure my jaw had dropped as low as my handlebars during this whole practice session. I couldn't believe how much fun this track was. I'm used to riding tracks that aren't really designed for vintage bikes. We don't really have any in Utah, so to ride one with such good flow and big hills and berms and long, low jumps was just mind-boggling to me. It really ramped up my love and appreciation for these bikes. That track's the funnest track I've ever ridden.
I agree. I was watching.
So fun.
It just looked freakishly perfect.
I still have a lot of getting used to on this thing though.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to ride?
No, I brought the skidder up.
Okay. First moto in the pre-75 vintage class. One thing I was surprised about with this event was how few vintage bikes there actually were. The majority of the bikes there were modern, and while there were a few vintage classes listed, most of them only had 1 or 2 riders. So they kind of lumped most of the vintage guys together in the same 1 or 2 gates. It was still a blast, and we were really impressed with how organized and efficient they were, how fast they kept things moving. But it wasn't as big of a vintage event as like the Boise Interam or the SoCal Vintage MX Classic. So if you live close by, it could be the best way to spend your Sunday morning, by far. But if you're traveling more than a couple hours, it might be worth waiting for one of the bigger vintage races. One thing I'm always surprised by when we come to Southern California is how insanely and secretly fast some of these old guys are. I know it doesn't look like much in the GoPro footage, but I'm doing all I can just to hang on to the bike and keep it on 2 wheels. And I'm not a pro by any means, but I thought I'd be able to show up and kind of hold my own. But most of these guys are probably ex-pros and intermediates from back in the day and have been riding these same bikes for 40 plus years. And while they might not look all that intimidating, once that gate falls, they drop the hammer. My pops is one of those, and he'd be right up there mixing it up with these guys if it weren't for a bad accident that he had in 2009. Anyway, this was my first ride on the MX360, and while it was taking some time to get used to, I love how it rode. It's got Race Tech shocks, gold valves in the forks, V-Force reeds, aluminum swing arm, a recently rebuilt top end. This is definitely a bike I want to hang on to for a while and get comfortable on. I just need to practice some starts. You can tell I'm still riding it a bit like a 4-stroke, keeping it low on the RPM, staying off the clutch. This is partly because once the bike hit the power band, the throttle was sticking a little bit. It made me a little nervous in some sections, but I'm also just used to riding 450s and our Honda XR race builds. 2-strokes are still a little bit foreign to me, but I was having so much fun I didn't want to get off the track. That dude is scary fast.
Yeah, the one you were chasing the whole time.
Yeah, flying.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an old man and he was cruising.
Yeah, that was so fun
That
though.
was so good.
Couldn't get the grin off my face the whole time. Yeah, I got a horrible start. I think I was in second to last on that turn.
Yeah.
I got it, Pop. Dude in front of me had gray hair.
Yeah.
Probably 80 years old. Looked like he was just going slow. I couldn't catch him. I was like, ah! And he's just up there like,
I know. He looked like he was just sitting in his
I don't get it. All right, back on the line. This time I'm on the Suzuki TM250. It's a 1972. Funny story, the Yamaha was acting a little strange on the throttle. So my pops took it apart, took the carb apart, and while we were neck deep trying to figure it out, I saw some vintage bikes heading up to the line. And this is a smaller event. There weren't that many vintage bikes here, so I was under the impression that there was only one class for vintage. So when I saw them heading up to the line, I had full-blown panic. I jumped on the TM as fast as I could, and I barely made it to the line before the gate dropped. The bike really didn't even get a chance to warm up. I'd only ridden it once before this race, and we've made a few mods to it since then, so I spent most of the race just trying to figure out how to ride it. It handled really well, and I actually love this bike. It's a little bit soft in the brakes. I had a hard time slowing down on some of the downhills, but I wasn't originally planning on racing this bike, so I was glad I at least got to take it out and rip it around a little bit. That one was rough. Oh, I just couldn't shift this thing.
Really? Yeah, it's probably weird going back to the road. Good, though. Yeah.
Hi, bud.
Indy said you passed 2 people.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey.
That was race 6.
Oh, we did the wrong one?
I was just gonna say, I know that wasn't your race because there was a TT 500.
Yeah.
There was all kinds of crap
Oh,
in there.
no. I thought there was only one gate of vintage guys.
Yeah, there's two because there's the age class, which is the first one, and then there's just the regular vintage.
So I got a second. to put this
So we
back
got
together.
extra practice. So
Sweet.
I'm so glad. Hey,
that was my best finish too.
you were killing on that one.
Sorry, Norm. Blew it.
No problem.
Give me a chance to get this back together.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing. So Papa got the carburetor dialed in. The throttle's working great. I pulled it off the stand to start it again and see how it's running. And the triple clamps were completely loose and some of the bolts were missing. It's really nice to know that we're gonna be solid for this next race. Second moto of the class I was supposed to be in. We tightened up the triple clamps and my pops was able to fix the throttle issue I was having, and it made for an insanely fun second moto. I forgot to turn the GoPro on till halfway through the race, but I know a lot of people are probably going to be wondering, well, what place did you even get? Honestly, I don't know. Technically I got first because I found out later there was only one person in my age group. There were a lot of other classes and different bike types on the gate, so in the end, it didn't really matter to me. I was just in heaven lining up to the race with all these other iconic bikes and cool guys at a really legendary track. It just doesn't get much better than that for me.
We're wrapping up race day. I think it's like 11:30. That's the earliest race ever. Got done at 2 one time and we're like, holy crap, that's the shortest, but
Yeah,
this
that was
wins.
Colorado.
This wins. And cleanup too.
Yeah, still want to ride more though.
Yeah.
Pretty solid day. Definitely had a few bike issues, but we pulled it together and I snuck in my own little bonus moto that I wasn't supposed to do. Turned out really fun. It was a cool event. Did you guys have fun? And you better say yes, or everyone's getting whoopings. Big ones.
Why?
Just cuz, those are the rules. I don't make them, I don't break them. We got some Subway Sandos. Time to go home.